Sometimes we think that intimacy is just a matter of bodies meeting, of skins brushing against each other, of desire being consumed. But when you are in front of the right person, something deeper happens, something that goes far beyond the physical. It's as if two energies recognize each other, as if something inside you that you might have forgotten awakens. It's not just an emotional connection. It's not simply feeling comfortable. It's the mysterious certainty that this person didn't come into your life by chance. At that moment, the soul expresses itself without words. And even if you don't say it, even if not a single phrase is uttered, there is a silent, spiritual communication that confirms you are in the right place. It's as if both of you had been walking on parallel lines for years, searching for answers separately until finally, destiny crosses your paths. And it's not just about sharing a moment of passion. It's about opening an invisible portal between two inner worlds that reflect, nurture, and transform each other. Carl Jung spoke of an ancient wisdom that activates within us when we meet someone who touches our essence. It's not a romantic idea, it's a deeply symbolic experience. It's as if your entire unconscious aligns to tell you, here is something you must live. Not something you must understand with logic, but something that transforms you from the most intimate part of yourself. That's why, with some people, the intimate act becomes sacred, because it's no longer just a body surrendering. It's the soul bearing itself with an honesty that frightens and liberates at the same time. With the right person, your soul is not afraid to show itself. You don't feel the need to protect yourself, to pretend, to hold back what you truly are. It's as if that connection creates a safe space where you can give yourself without reservations, not only physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. And that's something that doesn't happen every day. In fact, there are those who spend years, even a lifetime, without experiencing that kind of intimacy, not because they don't desire it, but because they settle for superficial connections that don't touch their true being. When you finally meet someone who awakens your vital energy, something changes inside you. Your heart beats differently, your breathing synchronizes with the others, and your thoughts calm down. It's not just desire that you feel, it's presence. It's the certainty of being exactly where you should be. And at that moment, even if everything around you disappears, you know that something spiritual is being revealed, something you couldn't explain, but that you can't deny either. This type of connection doesn't always come wrapped in idealized romance. Sometimes it arrives with storms, with doubts, with fear, because when someone touches your soul, they inevitably touch your wounds too, and that can be overwhelming. But even in the midst of the emotional chaos that intimacy with the right person can awaken, there is a clarity you cannot ignore. This connection has a purpose greater than you. You are not here to simply enjoy or suffer. You are here to transform yourself. Intimacy with the right person is a deep mirror. It shows you who you really are, without masks, without pretensions, without shields. And you won't always like what you see, but if you dare to look, if you allow yourself to feel everything without judging, without running away, then you will begin to heal. Because what happens spiritually at that moment is precisely an internal reconfiguration. It's as if your soul, by recognizing itself in the other, reorganizes to return to its original form. That form that was distorted by years of fear, trauma, and denial. And no, it's not about the other person saving you. That's the illusion many buy into. It's about the other person helping you remember, because when you are with the right person, you don't lose yourself in them. You find yourself. They don't absorb you, they reveal you. And the most beautiful thing of all is that this encounter propels you towards your deepest truth, a truth that was already within you, but needed that spiritual contact to be activated. There is a truth that few want to accept. Not every intimate connection transforms, but when it does, you know it without anyone telling you. You feel it in your skin, but also in your breathing that becomes slower, in your mind that finally stops fighting, and in your soul that, for a moment, stops searching. Because when you are with that person, your inner self no longer needs to be defensive. You are no longer trying to protect something. You are letting it happen. There is no more need to play roles, to hide the pain, to pretend security. With that person, intimacy is not just an act. It's a sacred ritual in which you disarm yourself to start over. It's curious how the body recognizes what the mind doesn't yet understand. Maybe that's why, when you are close to someone who vibrates with you, you don't need logical explanations. It just happens. There is a language that doesn't use words, a kind of silent agreement between your deepest memories and those of that person. You didn't plan it, you didn't expect it, but it finds you. And when it happens, many things that previously seemed to make sense start to lose importance. You no longer obsess over having control. You no longer need to force things. You realize that the soul has never followed the calendar, nor the rules, nor the lists. It has only waited patiently for the moment when it can finally recognize itself in another. At that moment, every intimate experience becomes an act of healing, not because the other heals you, but because they give you the space to see yourself. And that, deep down, is what we are all seeking, to be seen, not from the appearance, not from the need, but from the soul. To be touched, not by hands that wish to possess, but by gazes that know how to hold. When that happens, when you feel that you can be yourself, even in your most exposed vulnerability, that's when the transformation begins. That person, without knowing it, becomes a catalyst. They didn't come to complete you, they came to activate you. And you didn't arrive to fill voids either. You arrived to remember, because everything was already within you, but you had forgotten it. You had lost yourself among duties, fears, unhealed wounds. And then someone appears who doesn't promise you answers, but with their mere presence invites you to ask the right questions. They don't give you security, but they awaken the courage to stop running away. They don't save you, but they accompany you while you do it yourself. And that is true intimacy. A space where two people dare to be real. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Where wounds are not hidden but named with tenderness. Where silence doesn't make uncomfortable but holds. Where bodies are not used to cover voids but are offered as bridges between inner worlds that are ready to connect. With that person, there is no rush. There are no masks. There are no strategies to please. There is truth. There is presence. There is soul. There is something mysterious that happens when you stop using intimacy to distract yourself and start living it as an experience of expansion. You no longer consume yourself in passion out of fear of abandonment. You no longer give yourself so that they don't leave. You no longer seduce to be chosen. You simply are. And what is born from there is something that cannot be manufactured. It's something that is felt, that is honored, that is cared for. Because with the right person, the spiritual is not imposed. It is revealed. It's not planned. It's allowed. And without realizing it, you start to change the way you look at yourself, the way you inhabit your body, the way you breathe. You even find yourself lighter, more connected, more awake. And then you understand that not all encounters are the same, that some bodies brush against you and leave. But there is one that when it touches you, opens the doors of your soul. There is a type of intimacy that is not forgotten, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, because it touched places within you that even you had forgotten. Places that are not activated by just anyone, because they are protected by time, by pain, by all those layers that your soul has built to survive. And yet, that person arrives and without asking for permission, without even knowing it, finds the way to the deepest part of you. They don't enter by pushing, they enter by looking, listening, staying. The spiritual doesn't always manifest with fireworks. Sometimes it's the calm that confirms something is happening. A different calm that doesn't anesthetize, that doesn't hide. A calm that embraces. With that person, intimacy doesn't generate doubts but certainties. It doesn't make you feel insecure, but more yourself. It's as if you finally lower your shoulders, as if your body can finally rest from so many internal battles. You are not trying to prove anything. You are not trying to meet expectations. You are just breathing, feeling, living something that your soul already recognized even before you knew it. In that shared space, something begins to order itself, not outside, but inside. And you realize that many times it wasn't a lack of love that had hurt you, but the habit of giving yourself where you were not seen, where your presence was tolerated but not celebrated, where your soul was invisible behind desire. And now, faced with this unexpected connection, you understand that true intimacy does not demand sacrifices or tests. It does not set conditions. It invites you to be. And in that invitation, a new version of you begins to emerge. Not a better one, but a more authentic, more connected one. That person doesn't come to save you from yourself. They come to remind you that you don't need to be saved, that everything you are, with your lights, with your wounds, with your doubts, is worthy of being loved. And then something inside you loosens, as if an invisible rope that you had been tightening for years finally lets go. It's not about magic, it's about truth. And truth, when lived in intimacy, becomes sacred. You may not understand why that connection affects you so much. You may even try to resist it, doubt it, question it, but it's useless. What the soul recognizes, the mind cannot erase. And deep down, you know that this is not common, that this is not just another encounter. It's a door, a possibility, a mirror that not only shows you who you are, but who you can become, if you dare to follow that path of deep connection. True intimacy is not limited to the moment of physical contact. It remains afterward. It stays in the body, in the mind, in the heart. It transforms you without you realizing it. You start to see yourself differently, to talk to yourself differently, to move in the world with a softness you didn't know before, because you are no longer seeking approval. You are experiencing presence, and that changes everything. With the right person, time stops being a measure because in seconds, you can live what you didn't feel with others in years. Not because the other is perfect, but because you are ready. Because both of you have reached the exact point in the path where you could meet without filters, without armor, without fear. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how long it lasts. What matters is what it awakens, what it opens, what it leaves behind. Not everyone is prepared to live this type of intimacy. Many sabotage it without knowing, not because they don't desire it, but because it terrifies them, confronts them, strips them beyond the flesh. Because when someone sees your soul, you can no longer hide behind your achievements, your rehearsed smile, your arguments. It exposes you to yourself, and if you are not ready to see who you really are, it's easier to escape than to hold the gaze. That's why there are those who distance themselves just when things start to become real. It's not rejection, it's fear. Fear of being truly touched, fear of discovering themselves without disguises. But you are not here to repeat patterns. You are here to break them, to choose differently, to allow yourself to live an experience that doesn't need logical explanation, because you are already feeling it in every cell of your body. And when you open yourself to that, when you stop protecting yourself from love and start inhabiting it, your soul begins to vibrate at a new frequency, a frequency that doesn't adapt to transactional relationships or empty bonds. It only resonates with what is authentic, with what nourishes, with what transforms. And that's when you discover that the spiritual is not a distant or mystical concept. It's happening here now, between breaths, between gestures, between shared silences, in the way that person touches you without invading you, in the way they listen to you without interrupting, in how they look at you when you are not doing anything, just being. Those small moments, when they are real, are worth more than 1,000 promises because they are not trying to convince you. They are accompanying you. Accompanying you is not carrying you or saving you. It's walking beside you, knowing that both are holding each other on sacred ground where it's not necessary to have all the answers or to be strong all the time, where you can cry without feeling weak, where you can laugh without measuring your volume, where you can be yourself without apologizing for it. When you live that deep intimacy, you realize that the body is no longer a tool of conquest, but a bridge of spiritual expression. Every caress, every shared breath, every pause in the middle of the encounter, everything makes sense. Everything communicates something that words cannot reach. And you feel it, not because you understand it, but because you recognize it, because you had already dreamed it, perhaps in silence, perhaps without knowing it, but now you are living it. And even though the world out there keeps running, you decide to stay in this moment. You don't need to go anywhere. You are not seeking the future nor fleeing from the past. You are here, you are present, and finally, you feel that you belong. That this moment is not a coincidence, but a response to everything you have lived, to everything you have let go, to everything that prepared you for this moment. This type of connection is not sought, it is allowed. And when it arrives, you don't need to understand it completely to know that it's real. It's enough to feel it, because what is true doesn't shout, doesn't demand, doesn't impose. It simply stays. And you know it because something inside you has aligned, and you no longer want less than that. It's impossible to live an experience like this and remain the same. Something inside you settles, as if you had finally found a melody that was always playing in some silent corner of your soul. It's not something that is explained, it's something that is lived. And once you experience it, you can no longer settle for what doesn't touch you inside, what doesn't elevate you, what doesn't awaken you. Because now you know that something more exists, that not all bonds are the same, that not all closeness is real, and that there are presences that not only caress your skin, but pierce through time, fears, stories, and reach you right where you needed it most. This type of intimacy is not measured by frequency or duration. It's measured by depth, by the mark it leaves, by its ability to return you to yourself, to that you had put on pause, that you had forgotten among routines and expectations, because in the midst of that encounter, your essence feels welcome. You don't have to hide your thoughts or your most uncomfortable emotions. You can speak from your center, you can look without lowering your gaze, you can breathe without asking for permission, and that's what truly transforms freedom. Not to do whatever you want, but to be who you are without fear. And when someone offers you that without asking for it, without demands, without manipulation, you are in front of something you cannot take lightly, because the authentic is fragile, and when it presents itself, the least you can do is honor it. It doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It means that it's true, that there is space for contradictions, for good days and for cloudy days, that the connection doesn't disappear at the first conflict, but strengthens when both decide to stay, to look at each other, to speak from the soul. That's rare, that's valuable, that's what the soul recognizes as home. Sometimes, in the midst of intimacy with the right person, emotions emerge that you hadn't felt in years, or that you had never allowed to come out. Tears you didn't know you were holding back, sighs you had forgotten to release. Because there is something in that connection that activates ancient memories, not just yours, sometimes even memories you don't understand, but that weigh on you. It's as if your body knows that in that space it can let go, it can drop what it has been holding for so long. And it's not weakness, it's healing, it's true surrender, the kind that doesn't imply defeat, but liberation. And then you realize that the most spiritual thing you have lived has not been a ceremony, nor a meditation, nor a distant mystical experience. It has been being there, skin to skin, breathing next to someone who demands nothing from you, but transforms everything because they allow you to be. And in that being, the most sacred thing that can happen between two souls occurs, recognizing each other. After living something like that, you can no longer look at intimacy with the same eyes, because now you know what it feels like when two souls meet without masks, when there is no need for words to feel at home, when a shared silence can be more healing than 1,000 conversations. You don't need proof, you don't need certainties, you just feel. And in that feeling you find a peace that no logic can offer. And then, without realizing it, you start to choose differently, not out of whim, not out of fear, but because you have already tasted the real, the deep, what nourishes, and that changes your standards. It's no longer about finding someone who desires you. It's about finding someone who sees you, who holds you, who listens to you, even when you don't know how to explain what you feel. Someone who doesn't run away when the spiritual begins to manifest, when the connection starts to transform every corner of your life. Because that type of intimacy, when it's true, inevitably changes you. It doesn't transform you into another person. It returns you to yourself, to what you are when you are not acting, to what you were. Feel when you are not pretending, to what you dream when no one interrupts you. And in that place that is yours, that is intimate, that is sacred, you discover that love is not a destination. It's a state, a way of inhabiting life, of breathing each moment with awareness, of honoring your soul and that of the other without fear. If you have already lived it, you know. And if you haven't found it yet, don't despair, because this type of encounter arrives when you are also ready to hold it. Not before, not by force. It arrives when you have healed enough to not seek from lack, but from fullness. When you no longer give yourself to be chosen, but because you chose to love yourself first. And from there, everything changes. And if what you just heard resonated with you, if at some point in this message you felt something inside you light up or loosen, I want to invite you to be part of something bigger. This space is not just a channel, it's a meeting point for those who want to go beyond the superficial, for those who feel there is something inside them that wants to awaken. And you are here for a reason. Share this video with someone you feel needs to hear this, with that person who perhaps has forgotten what it means to be truly touched. Leave your comment. Tell me which part touched you the most, what you experienced, what you felt, because your words can be the reflection that another soul needs to find itself. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Join this community where each message is a bridge to a more conscious, more authentic, more yours life. Activate the bell so you don't miss what's coming, because this is just the beginning, and together, with each voice, with each shared story, we can touch more souls, we can awaken more hearts, and remind each other that the spiritual is not in the sky or in the future. It's in the now, in how we choose to love, look, touch, and live each encounter with truth. Thank you for being here.